Hail and welcome to Sunday Market Outlook. So today we're going to start with looking at the dollar index, and as you guys can see, we actually had the dollar running all the way down to this key support zone over here at 96.50, just shy of this upward sloping trend line over here. Now, if we're going to scale over into the daily time frame, where we're going to do most of the breakdown of the dollar index, what you guys are going to notice is the fact that after the market has actually broken this 96.50 level, it came all the way back in to come and retest it over here as support. Now, the question that we face with is, does the market have the capacity to actually run all the way up again? Now, there's two levels that I see the market potentially wanting to test. Based on the overall momentum of the market, it's still very bearish. However, I see that in the short term, we could see the price potentially wanting to come all the way up to our 38.2 fib retracement over here, which will put us all around 98. And a break above that level has the capacity to run all the way to our pivot level, between our pivot level and our 61.8% retracement fib. So I just averaged it out at 98.50. So I'm looking for the price to actually run all the way up until here, alternatively all the way up until here. Now the reason for this is because I see the market potentially wanting to give us a nice retracement before it actually wants to continue going further down. Now bear in mind that this is on the daily time frame, and so this is a very nice intraday long if the market gives us the opportunity to get in. Even from this point of view all the way up over here, that is a substantial amount of pippage, considering the fact that the market could potentially run all the way up, considering the momentum and considering the fact that we just came and rejected this particular level as a resistance and now currently using it as a support level. So that is the dollar index. I'm not going to carry on too much about this because that's about all we have with regards to the dollar. So for the week ahead, we are anticipating a bullish dollar, and that will obviously translate into analysis of the other pairs. For now, let's go ahead and move on to our next pair. Okay, guys, so our next pair is going to be the Australian dollar, US dollar, and this is a very unique pair that I'm looking at the moment because I don't know what to make of it. We have sufficient amount of buy signals and we have sufficient amount of sell signals. Now, let me go ahead and explain what I mean when I say that. So first and foremost, if you look very carefully, you have the market making this high over here, and then you have another high over here. And bear in mind, this is on the weekly time frame. So price was able to run all the way down and then made a complete reversal, come to retest these highs over here, coming all the way to test the monthly pivot, in fact, to our key level of 0.7 thousand. Then if we go over into the daily time frame, what we can actually see is the market has given us this beautiful double top over here. And by giving us that double top, what we actually see is the market broke out of this ascending channel over here. It broke out bullish. And then we had a unique set of exhaustion candles over here forming its own ascending channel towards this key level of resistance where we had a break. Now, with all that being said, guys, I see this as a potential market that wants to drop. So my personal bias for this market over here is to actually drop as opposed to continue going further up. But I cannot ignore the fact that the momentum in the background is still very bullish, first and foremost. Secondly, we have this very nice pullback over here with this hammer type candle, or if you want to argue it's a doji type candle, we have that candlestick set up over here. If tomorrow opens um, around that level over here and closes around this point over here, then we have a valid morning star. So this is how I see this market potentially running. Okay, I see the market wanting to actually move further up, only to come and test this resistance level for a third time. So potentially going down and coming up like that, making another touch at the top of that resistance, forming in this instance an immediate double top. And that double top formation that it forms over there will indicate that this market will ultimately give us the opportunity to short this pair. Short it on the basis that if we do in fact reach that double top, the our RSI indicator over here could kind of either be a bit overextended, where we could potentially have some divergences. And if not, if there's no divergences, then we can obviously look to see for other key signals like our double top over here, and other sort of candlestick formations. That's the first option that I see. The second option is for the market to just give us a slight pullback and then just continue going further down. So I will suggest to wait when it comes to the Australian dollar, US dollar. I will suggest to wait. If we get the market breaking below this low over here, that's a daily low. Then we definitely poised for the downside, because between this low over here and the current and the momentum, the only support level that kind of, or the dynamic support level, comes in over here. That is a reasonable day trade. But based on that, if we break this low over here, momentum will shift to the downside, and we could see the market running all the way down to the pivot level. If the market wants to break further up, then it's going to have to not only break the 0.7 thousand resistance level, but it's also going to have to break these highs over here. And considering the market has made such a massive stride to the upside, I'm not going to say um, which one the market is poised for, because as it stands, it can do literally anything it wants to do. But my personal bias on this pair is for the downside, except I just don't have any downside levels at the moment. So that's the Australian dollar, US dollar. Let's go on to our next pair. Okay, so unlike our previous pair, the Australian dollar, US dollar, the euro dollar, which is the current pair that we're looking at now, is definitely poised for the downside, in my opinion. Bear in mind, considering the fact that we are currently testing the monthly pivot over here, what the price has is beautiful double tops on the weekly time frame, rejecting 1.14 as a resistance. We have a very nice um, weekly shooting star in the form of this candle over here. And then we also have just ever so slightly a bit of bearish divergence. You can see over there a little bit of bearish divergence. If we go over into the daily time frame, things get a little bit more interesting. It gets interesting because although we didn't come to test these highs over here, we definitely came close to testing the highs of the body candles over here. And not only that, we have valid bearish divergence. And with that shooting star over there, we see price starting to make its way to the downside. Now, I will argue that the price could want to go from this point over here all the way to 1.1130, and run all the way down to there, as this is our previous level of resistance. And if we break that level over there, I see definitely the price having the capacity to run all the way back down to 1.1 thousand. Previously resistance over here, a beautiful monthly support level test, and this will result in the market giving us a very decent retracement to potentially want to go all the way back to retest these highs over here. But as it stands, I'm short bias with regards to the euro dollar, US dollar. It's just a case of understanding the dynamic of this particular position. Um, and what would the entry levels look like, or the entry criteria look like? Well, for that, I will have to scale over into the intraday time frames. Okay. So if we scale into our intraday time frames, I can see that the market has broken the pivot, has come to retest the pivot now not too long ago. With the retest of the pivot, this is no candlestick formation, and so this is not necessarily the best way to see a short on this particular pair. But if we go over into the hourly time frame, it makes a bit more sense, where we have the beautiful break, nice retest to potentially see the market running further down. Now, bear in mind, this is not the most attractive setup. I would prefer the market wanting to test one of our intraday moving averages as dynamic resistance, as this will allow us to confirm that price is looking to go down, because it's now testing a dynamic level of resistance. My stop will be above over here, and I could run the market to our first target over here or our second target over here. But bear in mind, guys, that because this pivots is going to change come tomorrow. We're gonna have to wait and see where the new pivot levels are going to open at tomorrow morning. So for the most part, like I said, my bias for this particular pair is bearish. It's just a case of waiting and seeing how we can get into this trade. So that's the euro dollar. Let's go over and jump over to next pair. Okay, so our next pair is going to be the pound dollar. Now, if we look very carefully, we can actually see that the pound dollar has come all the way up, had a beautiful candle, a beautiful run last week. And then this week, we kind of had a bit of um, we had a nice up week until the market came to pull all the way back. Excuse me. And it came to test our moving average over here, our previous lows over here, and just missed our pivot and actually formed a very nice inside bar. If we go over onto our daily time frame, what we can see is that inside that peak was in the form of this shooting star, previously support, currently resistance, and the market is gradually making its way to the downside. Now, I argue that the market could want to come down to test the pivot. In terms of momentum, there is still positive momentum in the background, but in terms of the short-term intraday type momentum, we see that the market may want to first make its way down to its pivot before wanting to build a bit more momentum to the upside. So my bias for this pair is very similar to the euro, where we're looking at a decrease in value with regards to the pound and the euro. Like I said, I'm not necessarily I'm on the fence when it comes to the Australian dollar, US dollar, but that's mainly because there are so many indicators that suggests that we could see them that particular pair go up as opposed of going down. But personally, my overall bias for the pair is to the downside. With this pair, however, I see the market actually running down to the pivot level over here at around 1.24. Now, if the price can actually run further to this downside over here, when we test this level, I would like to see how the market responds to it, because then we have a potential inverse head and shoulder pattern, which could result in us actually building a bit of momentum to the upside as well. So I'm not saying that the overall trend of the market is shifting. What I'm saying is that the overall, or what I'm saying is that the current momentum of the market is for the downside. So we could see a short-term down play over here to only see the market running further to the upside. The best time to have gotten in on this swing short would be all the way up over here, and that was going to be your best trade. But be that as it may, the market makes available what we are capable of identifying. So I wasn't there, in fact, to short the pair all the way on top of a year, but it doesn't remove the fact that the market still has the capacity to run further to the downside. So that is the pound dollar. Let's go ahead and jump over to our next pair. Okay, guys. So our next pair is going to be the dollar CAD, and as you guys can see, we had a beautiful bullish run this week after a severe bearish drop in price, actually coming very close to testing our 1.32 support level, but instead it came to test these prior highs over here at 1.33. And after testing those levels, we can see that it ran into some weekly dynamic support. And if we go over into our daily time frame, we can also see that we had a beautiful descending channel over here. Nice hammer type candle forming over there with a beautiful break to the upside. And now the market has actually pulled back ever so slightly and potentially have the capacity to use the momentum that it kind of opened the week with, use that pullback. So yeah, we had the positive momentum, we had a nice pullback. We could see this running all the way to our pivot level, and this is where I actually took a position on the USD CAD for the long. I got stopped out and then I managed to get back into the trade, but ultimately I'm looking for the price to run all the way up over here to 1.3870, just below the pivot level, and also just kind of using the fact that the moving averages are guiding price at the moment to the upside. We're running it all the way to daily 50. It's just a case of waiting and seeing, but for the most part, I do definitely see the market have the potential to run all the way up. This is where I'm gonna have to wait and see, because what I would like to see with regards to this particular trade, you can see that we don't really have any negative divergences on the intraday time frames. But what I would like to see, you guys can see here, we had a beautiful test of the pivot level, and price is actually starting to build a bit of momentum the upside. Now, if I was to place a stop, I'm saying the if we could have a bit of a pullback, a nice candlestick setup, I would like to place my stop below this pivot level over here, below this low, purely because of the fact that if we place it below that low, the market does have the capacity to kind of run further to the upside. It can come further down, but it will be protected by several factors. Factors such as my moving average that is guiding price on the intraday time basis, and then also the fact that we are protected by this key pivot level. If I go over to my daily time frame, it will also be protected by the fact that I want to put it below the low of this particular candle. And that will ultimately see me running it all the way to the monthly pivot level over here. So that is how I'm looking at the USD CAD. Not to say that this cannot just roll over, because we are on a resistance level on my other charts. But we are on a key resistance level that could suggest that we see a rollover, considering the fact that the overall trend of the market is bearish, and this is just a bit of a retracement. But when I see the market retrace, I'd like to see a little bit more exhaustion. And if the market does show us a bit more exhaustion on this key level over here at 1.37, then I will start to change my bias and start prepping myself to see the market drop further to the downside. That will make a lot more sense to me. But as it stands, the momentum is definitely behind the buyers, and we don't have any severe cases of exhaustion or deceleration in this particular run to the upside. So the question is a counter trend? It is counter trend considering the overall market is running to the downside. But bear in mind that a retracement on a daily time frame is a trend on the intraday time frame, and that is what we are trading. We're trying to catch this overall retracement level that the market could potentially give us as it relates to this particular run over here. So that's the USD CAD. Let's jump over to our final pair. Okay, guys, so the dollar yen. This is our final pair for our weekly market outlook. And as you guys can see, this is just such a messy pair. And if I go into I'm gonna go jump straight into my daily time frame. And I want you guys to see that there's no clear direction at all as far as I can see. I mean, this market has given us so many different patterns within this one particular setting over here, and in all honesty, I'm not necessarily nearly as interested in analyzing this pair, to be perfectly honest, because it's just been range bound for the longest time. And so I think what I'll do is, with regards to the USD Japanese yen, is just kind of leave this pair, focus on the overall fact that the market is still within this uh, descending channel, which implies that we could see price drop going further to the upside. The only problem that we're facing is the fact that if we go over and kind of look at the current price action of this chart, it's just so messy. It's just so unappealing. And this is one of those things where you have massive runs to the upside, and then immediately we have massive drops to the downside, and then followed by massive amounts of corrections. And this is the type of pair that I'm not necessarily interested in. I don't like to trade this kind of price action. There were opportunities when I scaled into the intraday time frames, but I'm not looking at it from an intraday perspective. I'm trying to find the overall direction of this particular market for the week. And if I'm going to be very honest with you guys, I don't even know where to begin with regards to this pair. And I think this is a powerful opportunity to just share that with you guys. When you're analyzing a chart, you don't actually have to know what is happening all of the time. And one of the things I teach my students is that there are three reasons for analysis. Okay. The first reason we analyze is to understand what is happening. The second reason we analyze is to find an opportunity. The third reason we analyze is to take a position. Now, bear in mind that the the two reasons, such as finding an opportunity and taking a trade, is heavily dependent on your ability to understand the market in and of itself. You cannot take a trade in a market you don't have an opportunity in. You cannot find an opportunity in a market you don't understand. And so whenever I do analysis, I always filter that specific pair through this concept, which we call the three reasons of analysis. And as it stands, guys, I have absolutely no idea what's happening with regards to dollar yen. And it's absolutely fine, because this is not going to make or break my ability to find opportunity on other pairs. It's not my job to know exactly what's going to happen. It's my job to find opportunity. But in order for me to find opportunity, I have to understand what I'm looking at. and I don't understand what I'm looking at over here. And because I don't understand what I'm looking at over here, I'm not going to find an opportunity and I'm not going to take a trade. And any trade I do take is going to be a pure gamble. And so, with that being said, guys, I really hope that um, the information that I'm sharing with you is of value, that you can learn from it, and that also, if you have anything else that you'd like to add, your own experiences, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. Furthermore, guys, I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch our first recorded video where I spoke about the 10 steps to consistency. I had massive amounts of feedback in the background, excluding the beautiful feedback we had in the comment section. I really appreciate you guys, hitting that thumbs up button, and just going about and just taking value from that. And I will definitely be uploading some more content in that regard. And we're also in the process of securing a date with regards to our Gen series, which is going to be on in August. So as it stands, it's going to be in August. I'm going to specify the date the closer we move to the time. But we are looking to launch our webinar that will allow us to discuss trading as a whole, where you guys will be able to ask as many questions as you want from me, and I will be able to interact with you guys on that level, and as well as just giving you some more feedback with regards to Gen Series and what Gen Series is all about. But for the most part, guys, this is going to be a very interesting week, I'd say. But I really hope that you are enjoying the content that we're uploading. I really hope that you guys are finding value from it. Furthermore, guys, I hope that you have an awesome week ahead of you. And if you'd like to add anything with regards to our Sunday market outlook, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. For the most part, I hope that you, like I said, have a brilliant week ahead. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and keep well. I look forward to chatting to you all soon. Up until then, cheers and bye for now.